30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful, kind of cool Tuesday afternoon in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, before we really get the show started, let me say a couple of things. Yesterday was one of the harder shows to do that I've ever had to do. I've done over 8,000 of these over the years between radio and this new format that is, I guess, what you'd call television through YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and the such. But yesterday was hard. We had the television on over to my left, watching what was going on involved with the shooting at Covenant. And one thing that I think needs to be brought up in what we now think we know, our police did a hell of a job. And had they not done a hell of a job, there is no telling how many people would have been killed. Now, that certainly does nothing for the families and the loved ones of those 6 people who lost their lives for no reason whatsoever. It doesn't bring any of them back. And that's the terrible piece of this whole thing. But I think we do have to acknowledge that our police did one hell of a job to stop that from being even worse than it was. It's bad enough. It's terrible. It's awful. Shouldn't have happened. But again, thank you to our police, because they did the best job, I think, humanly possible, given the circumstances. Let's head up to the plateau. Say hello to Coach Watson Brown. Watson, I know you feel the same way.
Absolutely, George. It's to get there within 14 minutes to take care of the situation. The police chief, since then, the way he's handled everything, you know how these things want to get going out of crazy stuff starts coming up and this goes here, and he just absolutely will not have any of it. He's being very calm, and he's announcing things when he knows it's time to announce them, and when he knows it's true what he announces. And I just think they've done fantastic. It's the best one I've seen through all these. We've watched so many of these. It's really sad. There's no telling how many lives they saved. There's no telling how many lives they saved.
It's a bunch.
And gosh knows the 6 that passed, it's just awful. But there's no telling. And this shooter was shooting at them coming in the building.
Yeah,
they're dodging bullets coming in the building. So this is a little different than some of them. And no, I can't thank them enough for what they've done. And we'll all be indebted to them for a long, long time.
Yeah. So I'll say this to those of you who live in and around the Nashville area who watch this show, whether you watch it live or you see it after the fact, next time you're around a police officer, say thank you.
Yeah, please do.
I need to do it because these people risk their lives every day, not knowing whether it'll be a normal day where they pull me over for some traffic violation, or, they're having to deal with really serious stuff like yesterday. They never know that. And I'm amazed at
George. We've had real good friends that have been policemen. Of course, we know the cops that used to carry us everywhere, and those guys have been great friends for years. But I've had friends every place I've ever been, policemen. And you think about it. They leave the house every day, and their wife and their children wonder if he's coming back.
Right.
I mean, They do. Every single day they leave the house that way. And yet it's what they want to do with their lives. And I just couldn't be prouder of them. And that's all of them everywhere, but for sure here in this incident. And they just couldn't have handled it any better. I'd like to think there will be other police departments that will study how Nashville did this.
No, you're absolutely right.
And learn from it, because I don't see how it could have been done any better personally.
It's one of the saddest shows trying to do it while it was going on.
This still is. It's going to be.
It's going to be. Yeah. Billy, I know you've got update material. Let's rumble through it.
Yeah, George, let's start with some of the comments from Packers GM Brian Gutekunst yesterday amid reports speculating why talks with the Jets have stalled. He had some interesting comments. While speaking to the media yesterday, he said that he tried to reach Aaron Rodgers. When he couldn't get in touch with him, he tried again and again. He said he tried many times to get in touch with Aaron Rodgers, but never got a response. Nothing ever transpired. He said that yesterday at the NFL owners meeting. So not sure if that was while Rodgers was in the darkness or after he got out of the darkness, but he said he tried to get in touch with Rodgers and nothing came of it. So Rodgers said the same thing. So somebody's lying here.
Watson, he's a Hall of Fame football player. And I guess that's the best thing you can say. I think the general public, and when I say the general public, people who are not Packer fans, because obviously the Packer fans have other reasons to feel good about him. But the general public that's a sports fan is incredibly down on him. And I wonder if he knows that or even cares about it.
I don't know. That was, you just took my comment is, I don't know that he cares. How in the world with your bosses that pay you
$150 million over a 3-year period,
and you can't communicate with? I don't understand that. And listening to the GM and the Packers talk, management talk, I felt like that's the way it went down. I haven't really just heard Aaron say they haven't tried to get with me. I haven't heard that. He may have. But listening to the Packers talk yesterday, the management talk, I think they tried everywhere in the world, and they said, what are we supposed to do? We just got to try to move on here. I don't understand that. I brought up communication to you on so many different things that have gone down, and just put this one on the list. How in the world do you not talk? You're letting the whole program down. You're letting all your teammates down. You need to get started in a direction. And if you're going to leave, let that team get started on what they need to do. I don't understand the thinking that you would do that. And
I would like to know, I will say this, I would like to know, it's now clear to me that at some point in the regular season, he made this decision. I do wonder what triggered it. And maybe we'll know that someday, and maybe we won't. And maybe the truth of it is I shouldn't care.
I don't know if we'll ever really know, because I don't think the Packers will talk. And Aaron Rodgers, we don't know whether to believe him or not, George, because he's gone in so many different directions with so many different things. And I don't know. It is really sad. He's not going to be a Packer next year. That's rather obvious. And where he goes, I don't know, but he's not going to play in Green Bay. Although it's not going to happen.
Although later in the hour, we're going to get to this. Mike Tannenbaum in the news.
Yes, he is. And I think Watson is aware of what we're about to get into. He has released his latest mock draft. Number 1 to the Panthers, Bryce Young. Number 2 to Houston, C.J. Stroud. Number 3 to Arizona, Will Anderson. Number 4 to Indianapolis, Will Levis. And number 5 to Seattle, Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker.
Interesting. Watson's the one that's been saying this all along, that you better pay attention, injury or no injury. Watson, give me a thought or two.
Did Tannenbaum give you a call, Watson, for that?
No. No.
Does he have your number?
Guys, he has
put it out there right now. We can put a little graphic up there.
Yeah,
sure. Get your number out there.
That and a dime will buy you what used to buy you a cup of coffee. It won't anymore.
That'll get you.
That $5 will buy you a cup of coffee now.
Nice.
So Guys, I've said all along, he has the credentials. He has the height, the weight, and he performed. Two of these guys have the height, the weight, foot speed, but they didn't perform. Two of these guys are a little undersized, but performed admirably. He's the only one that did all of it. The problem is he's a year or two older than some of those, and he tore his leg up. He tore his ACL. And if he had stayed healthy and finished out that year, I'm not sure he wouldn't be number one. He'd be right there, in my opinion, with Stroud. He'd be right up there with him. So he has to go. I've said from day one, there's no way he makes it past the second round, in my personal opinion. I don't know if he's going to go there, but it does make a little sense if they think they're good enough everywhere else, because they've got a guy they like but just don't love, that they just re-signed. You hold Hendon and let him be the backup or sit out till he gets totally healthy, and then you've got your next quarterback. I think the Titans would love to be able to do that. And get that next quarterback right now. But I don't know if they're capable with so many holes to fill, George. But I think Seattle is pretty good everywhere, and they may be able to take that shot and take their chance.
Yeah. At the moment, the Titans are a Swiss cheese factory. They got more holes than Carter.
They got holes, and they don't have a lot of money, and that's not a good combination.
Not a good combo. Keep going,
and
Billy.
Well, George, speaking of the Titans, at number 11, he's got them taking Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson.
Interesting.
So Tannenbaum's mock draft with some heat.
I know that's what they'd love to do, is to get their future quarterback in this draft.
But can they do it?
We're about to find out. We're not far away from it.
We will see.
Keep going.
Baseball, George, I wanted to get this out here. I saw this on the ticker yesterday. Shohei Ohtani is expected to make an MLB record $65 million this season, including endorsements, according to Forbes, making him the highest paid player in the sport. You got Max Scherzer at number 2 at $59 million, and Aaron Judge at number 3 at $44.5 million.
This including endorsements from a guy who acts like he can't speak English, but then all of a sudden, when it gets nice enough,
he starts
seems like he can speak English.
All of a sudden.
Yeah. And then we got this one.
Yeah, the Bradley Beal investigation. Weird story here. Wizards star Beal is under investigation over an alleged incident with a fan following a game last week. According to a police report, the incident occurred following Washington's loss in Orlando near the visiting team's tunnel. A group of fans approached him as the Wizards made their way off the court and back to the locker room, and allegedly accosted him for causing him to lose his bet on the game. One of the fans said, you made me lose $1,300, and he cussed him out. Beal responded.
Right. The F is not like you fatso or you.
No, that's the other one.
Okay. And all I'm going to say to this, Watson, is this. Yeah, I get that the player is being investigated and the player can't, go there. But, a fan shouldn't have the right to do that either.
No, but the fan's been doing this forever.
Forever. But when you call the guy the F-bomb,
you don't know how many
you
words
lost me $1,300, you F.
I'm telling you, things were said to me as a player like that. I'm telling you.
I'm just saying, all I'm saying is, the fan doesn't, the fan pays their money. They can boo, they can whatever, but you can't turn it into a garbage dump.
No, but it's as long as they're in the stands, to me, and they're not doing something physically harmful, I don't think there's much you can do, because, Lord, half of the stands is talking that way. It's just some of them are sitting up higher and you can't hear them.
Right.
I'm telling you, some of the home team fans are talking to you that way, and a lot of the visiting team fans are talking to you that way. They just got to protect the player. I don't know if you can ever get the word stopped.
Yeah.
The physicality, to me, when somebody throws something from the stands and it hits you, they ought to be gone on the spot.
That's
but
automatic.
Somebody says words, that's harder to take care of that to me.
Beal allegedly swatted the hat off of another fan's head and made contact with the left side of the man's head.
Can't do that
in the process.
Not good.
No.
You sure can't do it as a player. You cannot do that.
Okay. Got a great show with a great start to it. Tony Basilio, Knoxville sports talk show host, with a good-looking hat. Good lid. He'll be joining us in about 3 minutes.
You need to get one of those, George.
See, I think he wears it better than I would.
Tony can pull it off.
Yeah, it looks natural on him. It would look phony as hell on me. So let's talk a little bit about Action 24/7 Sports. The number is staggering. 45 million plus betting on March Madness. You may be one of them. Today at Action 24/7, use the promo code GEORGE and get a 300% deposit match up to $20 on your first deposit. Action 24/7 is Tennessee's only locally owned and operated sports book, and I say that for a reason, an obvious reason. These are your neighbors. They want good relations. So when you have a question, a comment, a dispute, they're going to get back to you. They're not going to blow you off. Download the app or visit action247.com to start all this winning, and please bet responsibly.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Win, lose, or draw, it is always fun to have Tony Basilio join us. As you know, based out of Knoxville, Tennessee, got a good-looking hat. God only knows how long he was on the air Thursday night after Tennessee's loss to FAU. So let's just ask him, how long were you on the air?
Till 2:45 Eastern.
That's what I was afraid of. Ugh, God.
It's got to be a better way to make a living. Watson, you think somebody would hire me like as a football analyst, or is it too late to do that? Or I guess it's never too late.
You're young. We need to work on that. We need to work on that, baby. We need to find you one of those jobs.
Yeah. Would you put in a good word for me? Because I don't know how much longer.
I will go to work on that.
I don't know how much longer I can do this between the late nights and the Rick Barnes heartbreak. I mean, here they turn around and beat Duke, and then they lose to a school that's got, I mean, literally their gym is like, I don't think it holds 3,000 people. Can't make that up, can you?
No, but Kansas State's feeling the same deal. I mean, these people are for real. Old FAU, this is nothing to sneeze at. And I think Vegas has really enjoyed FAU. They have made Vegas a buttload of money.
Well, you hit it on the, like, here's the thing. I think this is here to stay in hoops. My guy, Brian Hartman, looked back at the last several Final Fours. In the last 4 Final Fours, 16 different teams have gone.
Wow.
I think this is here to stay.
Well, think about it.
With the transfer portal guys, I think what you've had is when these major college coaches are taking, I call it like 13 card poker, okay? All those cards. And you throw 6 back a year, that's going to give the team that's been sitting down there working together for 3 and 4 years a chance just by adding a piece here or there. And that's what these major college teams are doing. They're all throwing 5 and 6 pieces back every year. And I don't think that works.
And you're in a little bit of a deal this year where, just to mention 3 of your blue bloods, let me go 4 maybe.
Yeah.
Duke, Carolina, Villanova, Kentucky.
Right.
None of them were really anywhere to be found when it mattered.
That's right. And where are they going to be next year? The other thing that's happened is we were looking at earlier today on my daily show, and, you know, I didn't really realize this till I looked at it. But I started saying, okay, where are the stars in major college basketball? Duke signed 3 of the top 7 players. One of them is the Lively kid, who was kind of wallpaper. One of them was the forward, whose name escapes me right now, which is the point. And one of them is Filipowski.
Yeah, who is the real deal?
Who's a nice player.
Yeah.
But how many stars are there? There's him and the kid from Alabama in this class. Maybe Leaky Black at Arkansas. But, George, that's a far cry from the days when you and I were kids. And those impact freshmen from the 5-star deal would come into college basketball, and they would make an impact. And it's just different now. It's really strange.
I also don't think the quality – yeah, the tournament's been fun.
Oh, yeah.
But let's not act like the first half of San Diego State, Alabama was anything but what it was. It was an absolute train wreck. These kids across the board, they can't shoot.
I know. And we sound like we're saying get off our lawn. But I mean, I was thinking about pre-shot clock days, and just because you play faster doesn't mean you're playing better in terms of the game now. And I was looking at Villanova, that Villanova-Georgetown game, and I was trying to explain to the kids that listen to me, you really ought to go back and watch some of those games from back in the day. They're all there on YouTube, and watch the different types of shots these guys took. The mid-range game, the spot up on the baseline. Nobody shoots a shot anymore. 14-footer on the baseline. If a kid shoots that shot today, they pull them out of a game. Everything's a 3-ball. 3-ball layup, 3-ball layup, 3-ball. It's just, it's created a wild tournament, but what it's going to do this weekend is it's going to create a very low number for the networks. I was looking, you know what's doing pretty well on the TV networks is this women's basketball tournament. And one of the reasons why is because they have stars in their game. This Caitlin Clark from Iowa
is the real deal.
Buddy, she can flat out play. I don't care if you're a sportsman, sports fan, sportswoman. I love seeing great athletes, and she is a blur, and she can shoot it wherever she wants to shoot it. I pay to watch her play anytime. She's an incredible basketball player.
So would you buy the theory the general public loves first-round FAUs? They love the early Thursday, Friday upsets.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes time for what we're going to have this weekend, they want the blue bloods.
Well, I mean, we all want the Yankees to be there so we can hate the Yankees, right? I mean, you and I would agree with that.
Oh,
Or I don't want the Cowboys to lose every game. I want them to win enough so I can make fun of their fan base. Having no Duke, no North Carolina, no Kentucky, no Kansas, no UCLA, I mean, you know, it's a little silly. From this point forward, I really hope that FAU goes and cuts the nets down just to make this year a total mockery. I think it'd be really funny.
it really would be.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tony, I don't know if you're aware of this, but for a good while, you've been Watson Brown's best friend. But today, you're not. You've been replaced by Mike Tannenbaum.
Watson, is this true?
No, that's not true. That's a George statement. You'll never be replaced, Tony.
Thank you, Watson.
You go down in history with me, babe. So you'll never be
Granddad
replaced.
is so
You
proud
never
of
have
you.
to worry about that ever happening.
Well, and I could tell, see, you guys have hair that I'm jealous of, and I'm covering up what I don't have. But y'all are both looking at me with this hat on like, God, this guy's got it rolling today. And you're right. Because I could see it in Watson's eyes. Watson has like a man crush on me, and he was looking at me like, TB, you look good in that hat. And Watson, I got to say, you're right. You're right about that. So
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, babe. I mean, you're there.
Touche.
You're there.
Touche.
You're my idol.
Okay, but Tannenbaum, if he's not equal to Tony, he's damn close right now. Come on. Do you know why, Tony?
Tell him what Tannenbaum did because he don't even know.
Tannenbaum in a mock draft today has Hendon Hooker going 5th to Seattle.
I'm making a note of that.
Yeah. And so
What?
now it came on Watson Brown stationery.
Is this really true, or are you guys messing with me here? Because I'm writing it down. I'm making notes for my blog tomorrow.
This is true. It's on ESPN Plus. You got to have a subscription to his, ESPN Plus.
Well, so no wonder none of us had it.
I had it, so I could see it.
So you pay to have Plus?
Yes.
Well, damn, we need to deduct some money out of your check.
Here I was thinking,
ESPN
George, you're going to
Plus, where
subsidize that young man for being for doing his homework and.
yeah, ESPN Plus, where NHL hockey goes to die.
It's a great plot. It's it's really true. They're the NHL hockey tier.
Yeah.
So, Watson, you kind of called this. That position's really strange in that sport right now, isn't it? It's just really strange.
Yeah, and if you go on potential, you're taking a hell of a chance. That's the way I look at it. In that one position, if you go on potential, you're taking a hell of a chance. And 2 of those guys are potential, and 2 of them are a little undersized, but
Yeah.
make plays. They've proven to be playmakers all the way through. And then the 2 that got all the height, weight, foot speed, all that stuff, they haven't been successful and stable in making plays. There's one guy that's got all of it. Just so happens he tore his leg up. But he's 6'4", he's 220 pounds. He has a strong arm. He has the same things Levis and Richardson have. He makes plays with his feet. Richardson has. The other 2 guys have the same stats he's got, but they're smaller in stature. So I've said all along, there's no way he goes past 2 rounds. I'm sticking to it. I don't think there's any way he goes past 2 rounds. He's too good. He's proven too good. It's nearly 2 years of unbelievable play by this kid. Go look at his stats. He's number 1 out of the pocket of all the quarterbacks in plays made, percentage of plays made. 88% of the times he got out of the pocket, he made plays. 88% of the times. I mean, this kid's a playmaker. Everybody loves him. He's a leader on the team.
Yeah.
How in the world do you knock him down? I don't see it. He's 25, so he's a couple of years older than some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they can get 10 years out of a guy, that's pretty good to me. That's still 10 years of playing till you're Tannehill's age. That's about what it would be. I just have never felt like there's no way this kid gets out of the first 2 rounds. There's just no way.
And I thought you were nuts when you first
Well,
said
I
that.
think everybody did, but
My sense of it was, first of all, he's hurt. Secondly, is it a system? Was he a system guy? Which I thought he handled very well. I mean, he was like, look, I threw the ball to open receivers. I mean, I don't know what you want from me. I didn't.
Well, that's what you're
The
supposed
guys were
to
open,
do.
and I hit my open receivers. Isn't that what we're supposed to do here?
I had a kid tell me that after he threw an interception for a touchdown once at Rice. I'm yelling at him big time all over the place. He was a defensive back. I had to move the quarterback. They were all hurt, Tony. And I bring him to the sidelines. I said, look, throw it to our guys, not theirs. And he said, Coach, theirs are the only ones open.
Did you laugh when he said it?
I even laughed.
Great.
People around me giggled. It would take a Rice guy to do this. It would take a Rice guy to say that to me. Just as straight in my face and polite as it could be, Coach, their guys are the only ones open.
That's great. I mean, the NFL is so weird. Like, I don't know if you guys look at or following this thing in Baltimore, but Lamar Jackson's requested a trade. I think that organization is generally very smart down through the years, and their calculation is the way you play, we're going to pay you, you're going to get hurt. I think that's smart of them not to pay him. Those guys, and then you were talking about the kid at Alabama who I thought last year had the best game I've ever seen in my life. And I hate to say this, but after seeing what's happened to Tua on the NFL level, I don't know if I would take that guy that high in a draft.
That's
Which
the
is
only
your
thing
point.
holding him back.
Which is your point.
Yeah, that's the only thing holding him back, but that's a big thing holding him back.
Huge.
And he's still going to go in the top 5. He is. There's no doubt about it. He's just too good at what he does.
Yeah.
And there's not – what are you comparing it to, Tony? Where are the rest of them? Where are the rest of these quarterbacks that are so great? I mean, there's not a bunch of them out there. Like, how many are there then in the NFL? Probably, half of the starters are really, truly, really good players? Would you all say that? Maybe half?
It's crazy.
I mean, really good players.
Yep.
I remember George saying way back when, he was like, this Levis guy, do you see that? And I'm going, no. But I think a lot of media people that follow this, generally media people will fall in love with somebody, right? Other media people can convince other I don't know anybody that follows the SEC that goes, yeah, man, you got to take him in the top of the first round. Do you guys? I don't know anybody that says that.
Well,
the Kentucky people don't say that.
The best thing he's got going.
I had him 5th behind the other 4 with Hooker in the top 4. So I haven't had him up there. And he's going to go in the first round. He's going to do that. But I've rated him the lowest of the bunch in the first
Best thing he's got going for him is that his offensive line was awful, and that contributed to subpar play.
Yeah.
Now, somewhere in here, they've gotten in a film room and said, well, we believe, given the right stuff around him, that he can be super duper duper.
And that's where I'm saying, George, they're going on potential. And you go on that position. I've done it before. I've learned the hard way. You watch a high school kid play and you see good things, but he's just not making all the plays. Well, I can make him a better player. I've done that before, Tony, and it's hit me right between the eyes. It don't work. If you're not making plays on this level, you ain't going to make them on the next level. You're not going to turn to that kind of guy. Name me one that has. I've never seen that happen in the NFL. I've never seen that happen. Tom Brady went in the 6th round, but he was a good player. He was a good player at Michigan. He was no dud. He wasn't. Right. He was a good player. And I just never have seen one just completely turn it around. There probably are some. I can't name them offhand, but I think leopards don't lose their spots. You don't make plays on this level, it's going to be hard, and it's going to catch up with you sooner or later on the next level.
So you think Levis is going to be a dud?
No, because he's going to go in the top 5. I'm not saying he's going to be a dud. I think he's the 5th of these 5.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is he going to be any good?
He was really good as a junior at Kentucky, so he has played well. He had a really good year at Kentucky his junior year. His senior year, he fell way off. And yes, offensive line, but I saw him in the pocket with nobody around him and throw bad balls. I saw him do that. I saw Tony Richardson play like an All-American against Tennessee and would turn around the next week and play just like an also-ran. Consistency is a big piece of it. Anthony Richardson and Levis have made plays on their level. It's just not consistent, but they have made plays, George. Guy that doesn't ever make a play now, that's the one you better look out for. So, no, I'm not saying Will Levis will not be a starter in the NFL. I'm not. I just think he's the fifth of the five.
The thing about Hooker that's real interesting about him is here's a guy that, if the NFL wanted to, they could really hold him responsible or hold against him his Virginia Tech career. You talk about a terrific story. I mean, two people that really benefited from each other. If that's anywhere close to accurate, what Tenenbaum wrote today, or his projections are anywhere close to accurate, I mean, one can make the case that he saved and bought time for Josh Heupel, and Josh Heupel saved that kid's career. And that's kind of an interesting thing if you stop and think about it. And the thing about Hooker is, you say he's 25. I would almost, as an NFL franchise, I would almost rather do business with a guy that I know is a little more mature rather than a kid I'm going to hand a bunch of money and responsibility to. I think that's an advantage.
Yeah, I do too. And I mean, he's still 10 years from being 35 years old. I wouldn't let that be a factor myself. I've read that it's a factor. That's the only reason I bring it up. I've read other guys say this is one of the negatives against him. And I say, my gosh, you get 10 years out of a guy and he's a really good player. What do you care? What do you care? And the thing that I hear about him, Tony, not only from you, but a lot of people, is he owns the locker room. Hendon Hooker owns the locker room. Everybody loves him and respects him and listens to him. And you can't own a locker room if you're fake. I've seen them try to do that. It don't work. Kids see through everything. You own a locker room, you've proved your worth for the kids to respect you. They're the hardest to fool in the world, are those kids in that locker room. And I heard that about him. I said, what's missing here? He's got it all. I've seen his toughness. I've seen him get up again and again. Now, he took some shots too now. He wasn't just protected great all the time either. A lot of those RPOs he was throwing, Tony, he's getting hits, he's letting it go. Because there's unblocked people coming at you on those RPOs. And so anyway, the other guy I like is Dugan. I don't know where he's going to go, but I like the TCU quarterback. I like that kid. I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL. Somebody's going to get a steal there too.
Is he in some quarterback witness protection program?
I don't know, but I don't hear his name.
Never hear it.
No.
I don't. And evidently he isn't a great thrower. When you go watch him throw, I'd say he's not as accurate as these guys. That's the only thing it could be, because he's got the legs, he's got the height, he's dang sure got the toughness. I'll bet you he's just not as accurate as a Hendon Hooker is, or some of those guys.
If it's one thing that Purdy guy proved is, there's such a dearth of those guys in the NFL that eventually you're going to get your spot. You just got to get on with the right situation. You don't want to be on somebody's third team buried somewhere, behind two strong incumbents. You want to end up in a place like a Pittsburgh. You want to end up in a place like a Cleveland. I say Cleveland.
That guy made plays in college too, Tony. Purdy made plays. He was a really good player at Iowa State.
No question.
He won a lot of games for that school.
But he went from the last pick in a draft
to a starter,
to starting in a playoff game, in a divisional playoff round. That's pretty strong.
And everybody wants to say he's got really good players around him, but if you're going to be successful in the NFL, you better have really good players.
I would say. Yeah.
You're not going to do it by yourself in the NFL, but I'm telling you, it ain't happening.
No.
So, Tony, has Watson informed you of the news?
What's the news?
The news.
I don't know that Watson knows the news. We're breaking news now, Watson?
No, I don't know what he's talking about. I have no idea where he's going with this.
He's going into semi-retirement for 3 months.
Oh.
Well, this is a Mid-South exclusive right here.
Where are we going, Watson?
To the golf course, Tony.
Tony, you ever dealt with Kelly
I'm going to the lake and to the golf course,
I'll tell you, the weather here, guys, has been
Oh, it's
yesterday.
awful.
It was so nice. I took
No,
my
I have
guitar and
yet
went
to
inside the
play.
park yesterday. Oh, it was so nice. Oh,
Tony, let me hit you one thing basketball wise.
yeah.
Boy, he got off
Tennessee.
that retirement thing in a hurry.
Yeah, I did. I don't like talking about that.
Okay.
Tennessee, but I'll be back shortly. It's just
Yeah.
a couple of months. Tennessee's second to last game and last game was the epitome of the season. Look at them against Duke, and that we saw it during the year. Look at them in the last game against FSU, and we saw it during the year. Those two games were the epitome of the Tennessee season. And I really believe that team cannot handle being front runners. They play much looser and better when they're the underdogs. And when they get favored, for some reason, they tighten up. They just cannot make plays when they're the favorite, Tony. And they didn't look like the same team against Duke, like they didn't look like the same team against Texas when they played them. Didn't look like the same team against Alabama when they played them.
No.
But when they were favored against these other teams, they get tight and they just can't make the plays down the stretch. And it's just too bad because they were in a good spot, but also FAU is really good.
I'm
Well,
curious,
FAU is
do you,
really good.
Tony, up in Knoxville, do you have a lot of people saying what Watson's saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That if Tennessee would have seen a Purdue in the round of 16, there's probably a chance they go through them.
I agree.
But they don't. They've played to the level of their competition all year. But the FAU kids, to your point, really smoked the Vols the second half. They went on an 18-4 run, and that's you got to do your work in the second half of these games. You got to hit shots.
Yeah.
Even as much as the game is kind of missing stars, George, like we were talking about earlier, or just the overall level of play, there's still some hellacious basketball that's been played. I mean, the game before the Tennessee game the other night when Michigan State
Oh, my God.
and took on Kansas State, I mean, those two teams were shooting the lights out. They were absolutely playing. And I was talking to Gentry Estes on my program yesterday, and he was up there covering it for the Tennessean. And one thing he said, which was interesting, he said, 3 of the 4 teams there looked like they were having fun and looked loose. And the one that didn't was Tennessee. And I believe that. You got to relax in the moment.
You got to
I
play.
don't care what you're doing. You got to let it go. Let it play and let it go. Hard, though. When you have that history on you, it's hard.
You all can do your goodbyes off the air. Watson got very touchy when I used the R word. I don't want to talk about that.
It's a sabbatical. Watson's
It is
going
a
on a
sabbatical.
2-month sabbatical.
It's not
Yes,
retirement. It's just a little bit of time off.
breaky. It's
Right.
a breaky
Exactly.
break.
Tony, don't you see that is a little different? It's not retirement. It's just a little time off. I'm just taking a little longer vacation than George does. That's
what
all.
he's saying is he's had enough of me for a while.
No.
Well,
I'm going to meet Tony somewhere and play golf. We're going to play golf somewhere together.
Well, I'm not going to
Except-
get invited.
one small problem.
Well, yeah, you could be invited if you want to play.
I retired from golf. I retired from non-competitive golf.
Well, we got to get you can come with your son. You can come with
There
your
you
son.
go.
We'll
There you
meet
go.
and play golf.
I'll
There you
caddy
go.
for both of you. Tony, how can people hear you?
So I'm over at tclub.team. We have a blog there every day, a couple thousand words. And then you can hear our show. We've got several Tennessee baseball podcasts that we're doing right now, and as that's in full effect. And I thank you, George, and I thank you, Watson. You guys are an absolute bright spot in my week. So thank you for inviting me
Well,
back.
the other
Tony,
way around.
we can't tell you what you've meant to this show, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
But
Thank you,
you're
guys.
not retiring.
Not as far as I know.
Okay. Just get ready
Thank
for
you, guys.
Kelly Holcomb, because I can promise you one thing with Kelly. It ain't dull. Check your ego at the door, because he'll rip into you just like he does me.
Uh-oh. Thank you, guys.
He's a piece
See you,
of
buddy.
work.
Y'all
See you,
take
Tony.
care. Thank you.
He's terrific. We have been so fortunate to have him for all these months as we have gotten this new format underway. When we come back, a few moments of NFL news, and a question that may have Watson going, hadn't thought of that. Stay tuned. Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. And now, the National Football League. Watson.
Yes, sir.
So Lamar tells us yesterday that he requested a trade at the beginning of March.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sure sounds like he's no longer dying to play for the Ravens. I would assume if he requested a trade, he probably wants out. So if you're the Jets and you're not really getting a lot of movement on a trade that we all know has to happen to send Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, what would stop the Jets from picking up the phone and calling Green Bay and saying, listen, as of this moment, we're now pursuing Lamar Jackson. Have a nice day.
And they did the opposite.
Yeah.
Did you see that this morning? They did the opposite. They said, we are not pursuing Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
So and they didn't use that. And I 100% agree with what you're saying. You got to have something in your back pocket to push this thing a little bit. I still think they think that it's going to get done. And I think
we all think it is.
I think Green Bay thinks it's going to get done. But the further this Lamar Jackson thing goes, the worse it gets, George. I mean, I can't remember a situation like this in this league in a long time where everybody just turns their back on this kid.
So let me ask this question, Watson. How weird would it be if Aaron Rodgers ended up having to go back to Green Bay?
Oh, about as weird as it would Lamar Jackson going back to the Ravens.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, here's the GM who's basically said, goodbye. We've had enough. Aaron's like, don't want to be there anymore. I'm JETS. And all of a sudden it can't happen because JETS goes and pursues Lamar Jackson, who has a sense of humor, and says, this would be funny as hell.
It would be. It really would be.
That would be the most Jets thing to ever happen.
That might be a pretty good way to say it, tell you the truth. But two weird quarterback deals all in the same year.
How long are we going to be talking about these two guys? I mean, is this going to be
a while yet?
I don't think the Aaron Rodgers thing is going to go on all that long.
I don't know. I don't see how either one of them do, George. How does both of those Green Bay, to me, could let it go longer than the Ravens did because they don't have one to go to. Green Bay thinks they've got their go-to guy. The Ravens don't. What are they doing? To me, they're the ones that needs to settle this one.
They're petrified.
They got to be.
Poor Harbaugh is sitting there yesterday, not aware of the tweet. Oh, we can't wait to get Lamar back. We're excited. Coach, he told you all to blow it out your you-know-what.
Hey, Harbaugh, just say you didn't see the tweet.
But, I mean,
that was kind of embarrassing. It was.
How awkward must that have been? Your quarterback told you to shove it.
He tweeted what?
He did what? I mean,
that happens because of no agent. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah.
Just no agent.
But meanwhile, the Commanders, who are about to be sold for a third world country, $6 billion plus apparently, have come out and said, we're not interested because we're into Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett.
Good for them.
So, I mean, doesn't that feel like collusion?
No, I can't go there because I think more Sam Howell than that. So,
I mean,
I know what you're saying, but Sam Howell to me in that last game looked just like Purdy when he started. He looked just like him. I mean, Sam Howell made plays all over the field in that last game he started. So,
right,
he did. He looked like his old self 2 years ago, not the year he got drafted. He didn't play as good the year he got drafted as he did the year before. It's a little bit of Will Levis, to be very honest. And Sam looked like his old self. And but when you're taking billions of dollars and putting it on one guy that's played one game, that's taking chances, man. That's taking a big chance.
Are the Titans ineligible given their salary cap?
They got money. They can do anything about anything. That's what I think.
Lamar Jackson.
I just think that they have the cash. They're going to have to give up Derrick Henry to get Lamar Jackson. They're going to. I don't think Ryan Tannehill comes close to enough in a trade. It'd take Ryan Tannehill and a couple of two defensive starters or something. So I just don't. I think they don't have the dollars, and I don't think they're willing to give up the players.
People feel like Indy is the team most likely to take a run at Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen and he's on Baltimore's roster, what do you think are the percentages that he is sitting out, holding out on opening day?
I think they're high.
I do too.
I think they're high, George. I'm not sure there's not too much personal stuff under the bridge now that he could go back. He's probably got teammates totally in his corner. He's probably got teammates on his fanny. He doesn't G and haw at all with the GM and the brass at all. And I don't know what his relationship is with Harbaugh.
Harbaugh's afraid to bring his name up.
I mean, I don't know what that relationship
Coach, within the last few minutes, your quarterback said, and I quote, take this job and shove it.
Yeah.
That's about what it felt like yesterday.
So he gets 30 million, and he's
32,
asking for what a year, basically 60, 70. What's he asking for?
Who knows? Well, it's the guaranteed money. He wants all of it.
Yeah, but I mean, just salary alone, it was double that 32 million, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty good chunk of change.
Yeah, I think it was more than that.
The only person on this show that ever made that kind of money, Lee Fowler. He's laughing. I can see him laughing in that little square down at the bottom. Lee's going to join us to start the 3 o'clock hour, and we're going to find out why I still have not gotten to go to a Final Four, even though I know a past chairman. Dadgum. But you know what? I bet if he got me tickets, Watson, I think they'd be way, way up.
You'd be up there with Patty Hearst.
I think I'd be up there with Patty Hearst, basically trying to take a panel off the roof.
George, all I can do is to tell you this. Roy Kramer, I think, wasn't the chairman the year it was in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was not yet the chairman, and yet he got me, Brenda and I, 2 tickets to the Final Four, and we were mid-court halfway up.
Yeah.
And I'm dumb enough to leave after the first day and come home for spring practice. My wife is still, to this day, never let me live that down.
Screw spring practice. Good Lord, we can reschedule that. We're late to Lee Fowler.
But he got me tickets, so Lee could get you tickets.
Well, we'll find out where they would be when we start the 3 o'clock hour. This is going to be fun. It'll be educational to some extent. Stay tuned. I promise you, you don't want to leave now.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in, So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
All right, it's time for Stat of the Day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards over in Shelbyville. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday, noon to 5. Also on the weekends on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304 if you've got any questions. All right, we've got a women's basketball Stat of the Day question for today. George, you're going to like this one. And I think you might end up needing some help from old Lee Fowler on this one. On Sunday, Kim Mulkey became the third coach in women's basketball history to lead 2 programs to the women's Final Four. Can you name the other 2 coaches to do so?
One of them is the guy at A&M, the guy that was at Arkansas and A&M. What's his name? The guy that's it's a man, the guy that was at Arkansas and then he's now at Texas A&M, I think. He took 2 to the I think I'm right.
Is he Lee, right
you know this one?
I'm kind of at loss for that one.
Watson's got it. You got a name for me, Watson?
This, by the way, is Lee Fowler.
I can't give you the name. I know who it is, though.
And that's got to be worth something.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'll give you that one, Watson.
Lee?
The no-name guy from Mississippi State or Arkansas and where?
Arkansas and went to A&M.
A&M, okay.
You took both.
Yeah, Gary Blair.
There you go.
Okay.
Correct answer number 1 for David.
Lee, feel free to come up with number 2.
Boy, I don't have any idea of that one.
This coach actually took 3 teams to the Final Four.
Is there a Baylor background?
No, sir.
Oh, that's Kim Mulkey.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
What about
let's go ahead and reveal. I want to know where I'm going to sit at the Final Four, so let's reveal.
Okay. C. Vivian Stringer.
Oh, yes. That's right.
From Cheney?
Now,
is that a...
I should have known that.
Where's Cheney?
Cheney?
Named after former Brave shortstop Darrell Cheney.
Is that a D1 school?
I don't know.
I'm going to do some
I think
research.
that one was 1986.
Okay.
What that does, Watson, that just shows you how many times Tennessee, UConn, and those other schools went. Nobody had a chance to go.
I think I heard him say the other night, Lee, that it's been 20 years since Stanford, UConn, Tennessee wasn't there.
Yeah.
20 years since one of those wasn't in the Final Four.
That's amazing.
That is.
So let's give him, a full picture here. There he is. Former chairman of the NCAA Men's Selection Committee, but more importantly, a former Memphis State color analyst. Lee Fowler, ladies and gentlemen.
George, I was listening before when you mentioned that. And I could have sworn I've offered to get you tickets to Final Four, but you had never taken me up on it. But I will publicly now say that I can get you tickets to the Final Four any year you want to. That is, if I'm alive. I have to be alive to get them. But and I'm taking a friend this year and his wife. And now I will tell you the tickets aren't free, George. Back when I was working for somebody.
It's over then. It's over.
All that's over. So I have to pay for my tickets.
That's it.
Right.
And my tickets this year are $1,200 for 2 tickets.
Holy
10th row, mid-court.
1,200.
Yep. That's 3 games. Of course, that's 600 and 600 is the tickets cost. And I got my friend tickets, and his tickets are $900. And they're 2 sections over about in line, about 30 rows from the court.
Mm-hmm.
So they're downstairs. They're decent seats. And the one thing about these new arenas is most people are watching the game on a big screen above the football arena anyway. It's kind of like watching NFL football. You're watching that 500-foot screen that runs across the court. But Yeah, I'm gonna get you tickets, George.
Wow.
I can't live my. That'd be horrible if I never got you tickets. Now,
Watson, I hope you can pay for them.
Watson, is he gonna hit leather to pay for him? Is the question.
Ain't no way.
Ain't no way.
This conversation just ended when you said that what those tickets cost.
Well, there certainly was. Let me say this: there was a hiccup.
Yes.
To the conversation at that point, it took on some water.
Well, now, George, think about it. You would have to pay $450 to see the semis and the final for one ticket. So that's what you're looking at. So what I would say, Watson's what Coach Skinner used to tell us: save up. Save up.
Save up, bud. They don't say that anymore, Lee.
I know.
So, Lee, let me ask you this. If you stuck me up there with Patty Hearst way up in the upper deck, what does that cost?
Those tickets are somewhere probably $500 for two tickets, $250 for each one of them.
Wow.
And it's funny, there's never been anybody gripe that sat in those seats about seeing, because as you know, going to the Final Four is the experience and being.
Oh, yeah.
And it's better in some cities than others. I think San Antonio is the best city to see it in because everybody's downtown and the Riverwalk. And so it's cheerleading and people yelling across the river at each other. And it's the best situated where the weather's good and you're outside and everybody runs into each other. So this one's a little bit different. Houston Arena, RG, whatever, is out about 10 or 15 miles, and you got to ride buses out to it. And so it's a little different. I always like it when the arena's downtown, you can walk to the games, come back. New Orleans is good. Minneapolis is okay as long as the weather's good, but Indy's a good place to see it with the arena downtown. So
yeah, Seattle was that way, Lee, when Brenda and I went. I mean, we walked from the hotel to the game.
Yeah.
And back to the hotel.
No question.
So that's pretty neat.
Do you believe Nashville will get a Final Four if we build a dome stadium?
I think there's no question they will. Unfortunately, now they've committed 1/4 of them, I think. Every 4 years has to be in Indianapolis. Now, whether that'll stay, I don't know, but that's kind of what they're trying to do now. And it goes to Phoenix next year. George, you'd look good this time of year at Phoenix with your Speedo bathing suit out of the pool, getting ready to go to the Final Four with your Vandy hat on.
Thank you.
Can you picture that, Watson?
Not nasty.
No need to go there. No need to go there.
Yeah.
So, Lee, help me, because part of your world was as an athletic director, many of whom I have not gotten along with in my life. Some are okay. Help me to understand how this guy, Chris Del Conte, why doesn't he have the smarts to go ahead and give this guy the job before the regional and walk in to the team and say, I know you love him. By the way, we're keeping him?
Well, I mean, I didn't quite understand, and I know Chris. I haven't talked to him. I'll see him this weekend, but he was Live and Goods associate AD at Arizona for many years, and I just gotta assume that they were looking at a national search to figure out who they were going to hire. So even though they might have always thought he'd be the final person, I think they were looking to see maybe running the flag up the flagpole to see if people were interested. And, when you're at Texas, you want the very best person that they think can take you to Final Four. And so I have to assume that was what was going on, because it didn't make a lot of sense the type year he had, if they like him and if they think he can do the job and be successful in the future, that they didn't do it earlier. Now, having said that, I've talked to some people that know the coach and know of him and knew him before he got to Texas, and they didn't think he was the right guy. So, you always have opinions on both sides, but there's no question he held together a pretty good situation, a good team, and that's not always easy to do, especially when the team's probably wanting you to be named because, well, today I don't know how much that's true. I mean, as soon as the season's over, everybody's going to leave anyway. So to go somewhere else or go to the NBA. So it is a crazy world. I was with Coach Stackhouse last week, and he said, this is crazy. I mean, you don't now look at what you got coming back. You look at what, who you're going to try to get by next year, because you don't know who's going to stay and who's going to go. And all of them think they can go somewhere else and play more, and you're using them wrong. And he just said it's such a different world, and I can imagine how that's the case with the transfer rule the way it is. And so it's going to be very interesting. And George, one of the things I think is real interesting, this is the first year ever a one hasn't gotten to the Final Four, and they almost didn't have a top four. So all this announcing the quads, 2 months out, and then Final 16 and all that. And so I don't know if it's so hard to read that it's tough to pick who's going to play well. As you know, I'm a big stickler about the last 10 games, and they don't use that at all. So I think they might need to go back to that, because I think that's very important to get teams that are playing well at the end of the year. But it's going to be a fun Final Four. I told the couple I'm taking, George, if you were going with me, I'd say you're not the only one's going to be your first trip. It's 3 teams' first trips to go there.
Yeah.
So it'll be very exciting. And I will tell your audience that every team that's there now will make the same amount of money. They'll get whatever the units are worth, 360 something, 366 a unit, and the number of units you won this year, and then you get that for 5 years running. So you can imagine those conferences that have struggled financially. This is really going to be a windfall for those leagues that got teams in this year that normally are getting 2 or 3 units a year. Now they're going to run out there and get 10 units a year. And so you're talking about, going from 700,000 to 3 or 4 million is what they're going to get the next 5 years. So that's
you're saying, Lee, let me make sure I got this right. So an FAU has hit an absolute mother load for Conference USA.
No question about it. They'll get it'll be eight units times whatever the figure is. It was 300 something thousand a year last year. And George, they changed that 20 years ago. They didn't want somebody to be shooting a free throw for $1 million. But it still is worth that much. It just is calculated differently, and you get it over a five-year period. So it's a whole lot more than that. And George, what's funny, some of these conferences, because they don't go that often or hadn't been ever, they decide, well, what does a team that ever gets there get? Well, ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, all those teams split it right down the middle. All the teams, Vanderbilt would get as much as Tennessee if they had gone. So, but some of these conferences set it up differently, and so I don't know what those 3 guys will get. Some people give more to the person that makes it. Of course, they get more expense money because they get a lot of money to help defray all the freeloaders that go to the game, especially when they go to the Final Four. They will be spending a lot of money just taking their trustees and their House of Representatives and all the people that care about them so much that probably never been to a game but are going to go to the Final Four with them. So that happens, and the AD's sitting there wondering how we're going to pay for this. Well, the NCAA gives you so many units also to pay for the people because they know it's a lot bigger deal when you go there. And I think they get 7,500 tickets apiece. It may be more than that now. You would think that would be hard, but that's not really hard to get rid of that many when it's a special time that you think you may never go back. So there's a lot going on at those universities this week.
You got that right. Lee, I'm going to toss one at you, and I want your reaction to this. It's been a fun tournament, but for me, the quality of basketball sucks.
Well, it's been exciting. I like Watson has talked before. Things are just so much different now. You don't see a lot of well-oiled machines. It's almost the people that make the most shots are going to win the games. And you don't know who that's going to be on a given night because there's not a lot of consistency game in and game out. And I have to think that has to do with number of years you've had your players and how you built your program up. I just don't think you have the control you had at one time. And Watson knows this to be true in football. Basketball, these guys that have really been dominant and been guys that have demanded kids to do certain things like a Krzyzewski or Coach Williams or an Izzo or those kind of guys, that's kind of gone because you treat somebody like that when they're a freshman, they're gone.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not saying they treat them badly. They just treat them like you have to get them to do what you ask them to do every game. And so I think that's gone. I think it's a different ball game now. I think you're trying to make sure the players are happy. And do you do something and then all of a sudden he's not back next year? I mean, I think there's a lot more to think about now than there was at one time. Some of them don't care. They're just going to do it like they've always done it. But as you're seeing, those dominant programs are not getting to the Final Four. It didn't this year. And to me, I would think it will continue as long as this transfer portal is as open as it is.
Were you troubled at all by the end of the Creighton-San Diego State game?
My only question would have been if I'd have been AD or coaching that team and I didn't ever hear anybody say it, would that have been a call with 10 minutes left? Would that have been a call? I mean, there were only 3 or 4 fouls on one team and about 5 on the other, and there were a lot of plays like that. So, why are we calling it now? You didn't call it then. And most coaches, and I think Villanova coach Jay Wright said on the broadcast afterwards, you're just looking for consistency. You want to make sure the same things are called. If you're not calling much at all, that's okay. But let's don't call it differently at the end of the game than we did during the whole game. So I was a little bit shocked because there was a lot of banging going on in that game that wasn't called. And the guy that made the call, it's a tough call to make, and he stepped up and made it. But I didn't think he was the guy that should have made the call. I don't think he could have seen how much contact there was because that player was between him. But you hate to see a game end like that. And, if he makes the shot, giving him one would have been different. And of course, it almost looked like he blew the whistle after. And then he looked at the other official. The other guy kind of came running at him. I don't know what he told him. But anyway.
Perhaps you're on your own.
Yeah, you're on your own on this one. But
yeah,
it's tough on officials. But usually late like that, it's got to be a tough foul for them to call it down the stretch. But the official was good. That answers all the questions on what's his name. You probably know what's the guy.
Oh, Gene Steratore.
Yeah, Gene was. He kind of favors the officials a little bit. I don't quite understand that.
By the way, we have a transcript of the other official coming in. He said to the guy that made the call, "We're behind you, win or tie."
Yeah, I would think that would have been close. He didn't run in there, and he may have said, "This is yours, big boy. You made the call. Listen, what you got?"
We're headed to the locker room.
George, that's probably what he said. And I've heard him say, "What do you got?" What'd you see? I don't know what you got.
I don't know. You're the one that made the call.
That's
okay,
right.
Let me ask this last thing, and then we'll go to the break, and we'll turn it over to Watson. Would you be in favor of officials, or in this case, the official that made the call, attending a press conference to explain their side of this?
Well, believe it or not, there is a press guy that put out something that after that game, because I thought the Creighton guy was amazing. And he said, "Let's don't go there." I don't know many coaches that wouldn't have said something like I just said. He called the foul. I don't think he made that same call during the game. But anyway, I think that there's a pool reporter that gets to go in and talk to the officials after a controversial call. So somebody got to go in there, a media person, and they released that. Probably if the Creighton guy had said more and made a big deal out of it, you'd have seen more about it. But there is a pool reporter that gets to go in and talk to an official.
Okay, after the break, Watson Brown, who I think would probably get better seats than me if he contacted
you'd be willing to pay for him.
Well, that is a factor in the deal. Either way, my phone just started ringing. That's never a good sign. We'll go to the break. I probably should turn the phone off. Watson will join Lee in just a moment.
am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
So, several people have texted me through the break. Here's one. George, did Watson pay for his Final Four tickets? Yes. Did you really? What do you think they cost back then?
They didn't cost $1,200.
That really put that put
Hey,
I can tell you that right now.
George, if it'd been 1,200, spring practice would have practiced before the Final Four started.
I will say this. That's not really true. I offered to pay for the tickets, and Coach wouldn't take it.
Oh, well.
That's really
maybe
what
Lee.
But I did
gracious.
say how much to owe you. And
Hey, Coach didn't pay for the tickets. I can promise you that.
Got a good point.
Lee, I promise you, Lee's not going to be that. I got a great story. The first time I took Carol to the Final Four, it was the last time not in a dome. It was in Madison Square Gardens. And we're watching TV in the afternoon. The news comes on, and they say that tickets are going for $10,000 a ticket. And I forget who was playing. And Carol looked at me and said, "Can we get $10,000?" And I said, "No, I can't sell the tickets. It's illegal to sell them." He said, "Illegal." So from that day on, George, and I'd treat you the same way.
Mm-hmm.
If I had the tickets, I'd make you go to the turnstile with me and
right
go through with me, because
don't trust him.
Don't trust him. He'd be watching at a sports bar somewhere. Get on the microphone.
Rich.
Screw the Final Four. So
that's 3 house payments.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Pay Watson's salary for about 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Joe. Zero
So-
times 0, 0. Lee, you know that salary.
Yeah, it's a lifetime. It'd be a lifetime for me.
Lifetime. Never changes. It's stable.
That's right.
So, where am I going with this? What is? Let me ask this, and then I'll turn it to Watson. What has been the hardest Final Four to ever get a ticket that you've seen?
Well, fortunately, since the domes came back, it's not as difficult. Now, it's just according to if you know somebody, but they've been a lot easier since there's 60 or 70,000 at the games. As you know, George, until last Saturday and Sunday, nobody, almost 30,000 of them didn't know they were going, didn't know their team was going. So, and the hardest tickets to get to semifinals, because all 4 teams are there,
right?
And everybody's excited. The easiest ticket to go, and George, this would be an opportunity for you, is on Saturday night, I call you and say, George, I got a FAU guy that's willing to sell his tickets for $25 a piece, and you get to Houston on Sunday and see the game on Monday. I've had a lot of people do that, believe it or not, when their team actually got there. I had a couple of Alabama guys that were going to come if their team got there. I had a Miami guy, and he still may come because the Monday tickets are not anywhere close as tough to get as the semifinal tickets.
Right. Watson, I've left a lot of meat on the bone. A lot of silliness has gone down.
General things that I saw up till this point through this. And the first one to me is you look at who's in this Final Four in the NIT and the NC2A. 3 out of 4 are group of 5s in each one of the tournaments.
Yep.
So this football money ain't all that everybody's talking about, because only one in the NC2A is a Power 5. That's Miami. And only one is in the NIT, and that's Wisconsin. The rest of these folks are living off of what they get, and it ain't near what these Power 5 basketball programs are getting. Isn't that interesting?
Well, it's interesting, and I also think that it's going to be, you go 2 or 3 years like this, or just half as much as this. If one team gets there every year, these $3 and $4 million coaches are going to be looking for other jobs because
they're going to be taking some of these group of 5 jobs.
That's exactly right. Because
that's all they're going to have.
Some of these guys are probably, the FAU guy, I don't know if they bumped him during this year, but he's probably making $500.
That's what I'd figure. Yep.
Yeah. And, all these jobs, of course, UConn's making a lot of money because that's a job that's been there a bunch.
Yeah, and that Big East basketball is a Power 5 basketball.
Yeah, it definitely is. But it's going to be interesting. On Saturday morning, we go to an alumni breakfast / conversation about viewership, all that sort of stuff. It'll be interesting to me where that meeting of alums who sat in those chairs and pick teams goes. I've talked to a few that don't like the Final 10 not have more emphasis on the Final 10 games. But it's going to be interesting where it goes. It'll be interesting to see. We get everything from the number of fouls, the number of free throws in every game. And, they break it down and give us the meat of what went on in the NCAA tournament up until that final game. Actually, it's Saturday morning, so it's before the Final Four even starts. So that's going to be interesting, and it'll be real interesting to see Dan Gavitz, who's been running the tournament about 7 or 8 years now, see if there's any worry in his mind about what's going on in college basketball. Now, I know that the public opinion will be things are great. We're glad to have these upsets, a lot of Cinderella teams. Mm-hmm. But guess what? Probably CBS is not quite as excited as other people are because, the UNCs and the Dukes and the Kentuckys and UCLAs and those people have been such a mainstay in this tournament that's what they paid the money for. That's what they're selling for the future. So this will be a tough year to figure out why is it this way. Not that you care, I guess, if those guys keep bringing back good teams. But one thing, Watson, it may emphasize those guys on those teams are kind of coming down from the SEC and the other leagues to play on those teams, and they weren't even playing at the SEC schools. So it's rather interesting to see how those teams were built, and they probably have better players than they used to have because of the transfer down. But those coaches have done a wonderful job by putting those teams together.
And Lee, that leads to my second observation to get you to comment on. You look at who's in the Final Four. Every one of the three of the four for sure are deep, older teams. Their players stayed at those schools. San Diego State, absolutely. Very deep. UConn, very deep with older players. I'm not saying they're in the transfer there, here or there, but overall, that team, FAU, those kids have been there. Most of them for 3 years. And then Miami is the one that there's tons of NIL money in them. So the transfer portal didn't just make it with those. I think the transfer portal is hurting these teams more than helping these teams. How can you have Vanderbilt, who finishes strong, and they've already lost 3 kids? 2 of them were starters throughout the year. And here you go and you start all over. He's going to have a different team again next year. But FAU, UAB, who's playing in the beat Vanderbilt, old team. Those kids had been together. Andy Kennedy had them for at least 2 years himself, maybe 3. I'm not sure how long Andy's been there. But these are older teams, and they're the ones that came through where these transfer teams, you can see it, they don't play as good as these teams do. These teams play together. A lot of these other teams they're beating were more in an individualist type way.
Yeah, and you got to think that in the mind of a lot of those players at the Big Five conferences are trying to be a NBA star, so you have a little bit more trouble controlling them because they're wanting to show what they can do. And I think there's no question in my mind that having teams together 2 years or 3 years are going to have a better chance of winning. As you know, through coaching, you know what to expect of them. You know what they're going to do. Some guys do bad things at the end of the games. You know it because you've had them 3 years. Guess what? They're not in there at the end of after 3 years.
No.
Put somebody else in there. So I think the unknown of these major colleges is a little bit different. I mean, my 2 son-in-laws are North Carolina grads, and they keep up what's going on at North Carolina in all sports, but basketball especially. And just found out today Love's in the transfer portal.
Yep.
Well, they hate that, but it's good for him probably. And if they can get somebody that can shoot it, they're okay with that. Well, I mean, he had a bad year. He averaged 15 or 16 points. Well, I mean, there are a lot of teams that like to have somebody that had a bad year that averaged 15 or 16 points. So it's going to be interesting, I think, especially to know that North Carolina right now is trying to build a team and don't know who their players are, is really different than what Roy ever dealt with. And so these coaches are dealing with things they hadn't had to deal with before. And once again, I've seen it. Now, I don't know anything about football, but I coached Tom O'Brien, who coached for me. It was a military style, and he basically, the only thing I ever said to him when I hired him, I said, I don't ever question what you do in football. The only thing I want to know is don't let a guy do a double reverse and run down the field and catch him from behind. He said, it'll never happen. There was always a guy out there waiting on somebody that did that double reverse because, it's discipline. And they get discipline out of, but that's from years and years of working with kids. So I just don't know if these guys that are supposedly great coaches can deal with it. I mean, they're going to have to change. And you know how that doesn't happen very often when you're a dictator. It's hard not to be a dictator. So it's going to be interesting. And I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm just saying it's so much different and it's so much harder to figure out how they're going to play. And this year they didn't play very well.
Yeah. All right. Third thing, got 2 more quick ones here. Third thing, this was the most physical NCAA tournament that I've seen in 20 years, Lee. Is this the norm now, or do we need to analyze this and back off a little bit? Because it was borderline too physical at times to me.
Yeah, I think so. Watson, we did some research over 50 years, and believe it or not, the officials are calling the same number of fouls. Now, they may be better athletes, better, and so we actually have called a few more fouls over the years. I'll find that out. I'll report back to you and Mr. Ticket Plaster when I get back in the Final Four. But it's amazing how the officiating numbers of fouls. Now, you don't know whether that's the psyche of the officials, that they don't want to be perceived they're taking the game over, so they know that 15 or so fouls on each team, 16, I think it was 17 each half. For both teams, it was like something like 38 or something for games, average all games back when they didn't have a clock, do have a clock. So it really hadn't changed the number of fouls that they call. And so we try to talk to them on whether, are you doing this because you can't call too many fouls? Are you doing this because that's how the game, that's what you saw? Because they don't want to be perceived that they've taken the game over and, shooting free, all you're doing is shooting free throws. So I think that's a delicate balance, but I really feel like that the NCAA, and we talked about it leading up to the NCAA, that's why Big Ten in most years, SEC in most years, those bigger conferences play more aggressively, and they're used to it when they get there. And like you said, that it's been rough this year. There's no question about that. And that may be also you hadn't had much time to teach them how to play defense, play straight up. I mean, a lot of that comes from coaching kids over 2 or 3 years, as you know, in football. I mean, the technique's hard to get across when you got a guy for a year.
No,
so some of that's because of that too.
I agree. Okay, quick. Last thing that my observation is these 4 teams that are left all have guys, bunch of guys. They're deep, all 4 of these. They're older, but the third thing I see is they can beat you off the dribble. Every team that's left has got a bunch of people that can beat you off the dribble, and a lot of the ones that can't do that end up getting beat in close games. And they're shooting free throw shots. They're shooting elbow shots, which is gone from the game. But these kids that are left, San Diego State, FAU, Miami, even UConn, those kids can shoot those shots and have made them in this tournament league. Basketball coaches better open their eyes and realize I got to have some guys that can beat you off the dribble, and more than one. You can't just have a point guard that can do it. You better have some athletes on the floor. That's what I've seen the difference this year.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And if you'll see Connecticut, you see a couple of those other guys are New York and Washington, D.C. guys. They've always been able to do that. You can't keep them in front of you. So you're right. I mean, but they don't shoot quite as many threes as they have in the past. They've taken it to the basket. And most teams are playing with 1, maybe 2 big guys, but mostly 1 big guy. And that clears the middle out and creates that penetration. And that's why people are doing that. So the offenses have changed a little bit, and they're looking to do that more. Once again, Watson, if you don't have them for 3 or 4 years, you can't run a real tough offense. You've got to get them in the best situation, let them go after it. And that's what those guys are doing.
I got it.
Okay, Lee. One other thing I want to get you to react to. Billy, give him the news from his alma mater.
From North NC State?
Alma mater. Now, what does that mean?
Oh, you're saying Vandy. I thought you were talking about Lee. Vandy has lost 5 players to the transfer portal. Miles Studi, Malik Dia, Noah Shelby, Trey Thomas, and Jordan Wright. And Tyron Lawrence is also declared for the NBA draft. He's going to go test the waters. So, he still could be coming back.
Lee, first of all, are you surprised about Jordan Wright?
Really a little bit. I'm not shocked about the other 4 guys. Of course, Studi was gone. I think Trey has had 2 years that he hadn't shot it really well, and that's really his one asset. He's graduating, so that doesn't shock me. The Shelby kid doesn't shock me. He was kind of a package deal anyway with the kid that came from Texas, I think. And so none of that at this point shocks me. I think that after talking to Jerry after the season was over, I felt like he thought there'd be 3 or 4 guys leave, and he's there working hard at some. He really wants a big guy that can post. I think he's got an opportunity to get a guy that's transferring, has 2 years left, and so I think that he thinks if he can get that, he can really change the game. Now, I've got to believe that Jerry, knowing the NBA background he has, is kind of telling Lawrence, you need to go see this, go try it. And I don't think Jerry thinks that they'll take him. He's not even the top 100. But I think he thinks that's a good idea for kids to see the reality of it. And so I'll be shocked if he goes to the NBA. I don't know the kid, don't know his background on what he's really thinking, but he definitely is a guy that needs to come back and play college basketball. Jordan Wright, I'm a little bit surprised that he's going somewhere else, but not really that much either, because he didn't play a lot until Robbins got hurt this year. So he probably feels like he needs a new lease on life. He's graduating and has 1 year to play. So none of that surprises me, but I know online it's kind of creating a situation. But I think if Lawrence comes back and Ezra comes back and, Browns wants to come back, of course, I think they're going to be fine. And if they get a couple of guys that he's hoping to get, I think they'll be as good or better next year.
Would you be shocked if he left for some type of NBA job?
Be shocked? No. I think he is an NBA guy. So if a job that he felt like he could win in the NBA, I would think that he's never mentioned that to me. I know he's happy at Vanderbilt. He's not interested in going to any other university. So would it shock me? Not if a good job came after him. No.
Where's the Final Four next year?
It's in Phoenix, George. It's one of the best places ever. We stay at the I can't think of the name of the hotel. It's the best hotel in the whole world. And you would be Carol's. What is it? Two senile people that can't think of things. But I know this, being my Vanderbilt degree. Frank Lloyd Webber. No, that's Wright built it.
Yeah.
So you'd really like it, George.
I think we'll take the show there.
And George, you probably, if I get you 2 tickets, you could maybe sell one and pay for the one you're going to use.
Right.
I mean, there's got to be a deal there somewhere, George.
Yeah. Watson, you coming with us to Phoenix?
Sure.
Really?
I think Indianapolis the next year is the year, George. If I can make it that long, that's where you need to go. You can drive. You can, you'll know a lot of people up there, and that's the place you need to go because it's drivable. It gets expensive when you have the hotel and flights and all that stuff.
Eat a lot of broccoli over the next 2 years, Lee.
I will. No question
Thank
about
you.
that. And cold corn.
Why not? Why not? It's happened before. It's an inside joke.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to be with you later.
Are we going to do something Monday before the championship game?
Yeah, let me ask you this. Do you feel comfortable doing that there?
Sure. I'll be in my hotel room doing it on Monday.
Book it.
Yeah,
Book it.
I think the game's 8:00 at night or something.
Yeah.
3:00 on Monday would be great.
We're in.
Watson,
see you. Thank you.
Watson, take care of him.
Lee, done all I can do, babe.
Why isn't his hair turned white, Watson?
Don't go there because he's sensitive about that.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's sensitive at all.
He's real sensitive about that because people
is what it is.
Claim that it's been colored a bunch, but he
with it.
Absolutely snarls at anybody that's
deal with it.
He's sensitive. He's really sensitive. Be careful.
I know. I'm not going to mention it.
Deal with it. Y'all wish.
You think he looks just like we do, Lee? Really and truthfully?
Hey, he hadn't changed a bit since I was color commentator for him in Memphis. What year was that, George? That was
1987, 88.
87, 88. Mm-hmm. Those were glory years.
Those were really not great years.
Thank you, guys.
Lee, thank you. We'll go to the break. Speaking of not good years, the last 2 weeks of Plaster Bet of the Day has been a disaster. But you know what? We're going to turn it around tonight.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look.
Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
Disaster is how George has described the last week and a half or so of basketball action in terms of his success.
I would describe it as a distant cousin of the Hindenburg.
Putrid.
Rancid.
Well, we'll see if you can get back off the schneid. You got the NIT to help you out tonight in Vegas.
Pathetic.
Bart Durham Injury Law is a sponsor. They are lawyers you can trust, best in the business. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to their website. That's bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened last night quickly in Plaster's Bet of the Day. Indiana Hoosiers. Yeah. No, not the Hoosiers. I said Hoosiers. Pacers.
Pacers.
Took the L.
I took the gas.
You took the gas?
Basically, yeah. They got clobbered. So tonight I'm going to take the 2 NIT games. Watson, I'm more confident in the second game, but let's put the first one up first. We flip-flopped. There we go. I'm going to take Wisconsin only because North Texas will have trouble with Wisconsin's inside game. That's their one strength is inside. But I'm telling you, this North Texas bunch, they play hard. Watson, this will be a dogfight.
Yeah, I don't feel good either way. I would go with that one. I think that's a tough one there.
Yeah.
I feel a little more confident about the next one, but this one, North Texas is a whole lot better than their name gives them. I mean, they are now. They remind me of the teams in the Final Four right now, 3 of the 4. And they got a bunch of players. They're athletic. They're up and down the floor. They play really hard on defense. That one I don't feel good about either way. I would not be surprised if North Texas won that game. I wouldn't.
Yeah. So don't pay a lot of attention to this one, but I felt like I needed somewhere. I've got to win. Now, the second one I feel very confident about, and I'm going to explain why. Utah Valley has had a nice run to get to this point, but it's been a lot of home games.
Mm-hmm.
UAB went on the road last week.
2 times.
Pretty hostile environment at Vandy with about 9,000. When you only have 3-4 days to sell tickets, that's an impressive number to move. A student body turnout that was really good. UAB couldn't have cared less. This is a really good basketball team that on certain nights was an NCAA tournament team. They're going to win and cover.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're very good. And I thought they might beat Vanderbilt, but I didn't pick them. But after watching that game, they could play 5 more times. I think they beat them 3 of 5, George. I think UAB, they're deeper than Vanderbilt was, and they got older players. They just don't rattle. They don't rattle. They didn't shoot worth a flip in the first half, and their star was like 1 of 11 or something in the first half, and he comes back.
He just took over in the second half.
And lights it up. So I think UAB, matter of fact, I think they win the tournament. And I'll bet you they'd much rather play Wisconsin if they win than North Texas. Because they've already played them twice.
They're used to North Texas.
Yeah, they'd rather play Wisconsin.
Did they not play North Texas in their tournament?
They may have.
I believe
know they played them twice in the year.
This would be the 4th time
could very well be
that they would play each other.
And that would be a dogfight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That would be a hard game.
Call me stupid for asking this, but UAB, if they win the NIT, does that get their conference some money as well?
There's not a lot of money in the NIT.
Yeah, it's NIT is a break even if you're lucky proposition.
Okay, because I was wondering if FAU, we know they're making some money for the conference.
Now, I will be curious in Vegas. Does this thing draw at all?
Well, it's at Orleans Arena. It's not at T-Mobile, which I thought at first they might, but
Orleans is the smaller of the 2.
Yeah, and it doesn't look great. I mean, it is a huge step down from MSG.
Well, it's where Gonzaga's tournament gets played.
They're not Pac-12, Mountain West.
Yeah,
right.
Gonzaga
or the WAC, whatever the
where are they today?
Gonzaga, not Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
Jerry trained you well yesterday. You're even saying it right now.
No, I absolutely.
Gonzaga,
George makes sure to say it right. Gonzaga.
Zaga.
Fraud. In a tournament where all the games went to the wire, they got beat by 28. They got their
so all those first games to get that far meant nothing, right? Nothing. Beat UCLA meant nothing.
Well, I mean, in the end, how good do you feel on Saturday night?
Well, I'd say there's another 64 that feel the same way.
Yeah, pretty much. Tomorrow on the show, want to let people know 2 big announcements. We kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit about the first one, but it's not like he's going anywhere. He basically, Watson will be back with us sometime in July, and every once in a while, if we need a football fix, we'll get him in here. We'll tell you who will replace him during that time. And we also have a second piece of news.
I think you already let that cat out of the bag too, who's replacing him, but that's okay.
Whatever. I mean, build up the drama a little. Come on.
Keep
Don't
the
let
tease going.
facts get in the way. Can you believe he said that?
No. All he did is give himself some grief after the show's over.
Absolutely.
Billy is learning slowly. It's better to
very slowly. But the
let it be.
The second piece of info is big, and we're very excited. Watson's excited. We're excited. Second piece of news is going to be good.
Yeah, that is a good piece.
Yeah. Then I say Mark McGee will join us. There's just one problem. I haven't called him yet. I think he'll join us. He'd probably appreciate this. Watson, behave until tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, as we leave, one serious note. Next time you see a Nashville policeman, thank him or her, because they did a hell of a job yesterday. It could have been so much worse. Doesn't bring back the ones we have lost, but I know this, it would have been way worse. See you tomorrow.